75 years, so things got started in 1937. How did your dad and your uncle get involved in the automotive industry?
Well, they started a little shop back here on Jefferson, and they worked on cars. And they started that in 32, and then they had that for 5 years, and then in 37 they had a chance to start selling Chrysler products, and so they got the franchise for Plymouth and DeSoto.
So Chrysler, Plymouth, and DeSoto.
Well, they just had Plymouth and DeSoto. When you go back in history that far, there were 3 Chrysler dealers in town. There was
Really?
well, I don't know for sure, but it was Graham had Chrysler, Plymouth, and Bob Siefkin had Dodge, and then Dad and Frank had Chrysler and DeSoto. So for quite a few years, there were 3 Chrysler Corporation dealers in town.
And little by little, the others
Right,
left,
right.
and you and Mark, or you and Paul, and your dad and uncle worked together to accumulate these various models.
Yeah, well, we got, they sold Chrysler, they sold Plymouth and DeSoto from 37 to 1960. And then in 60, Chrysler Motors asked them if they would take on the Dodge franchise and give up the Plymouth franchise. DeSoto went away in 1960, so there was no more DeSoto. So all they would have been left with would have been Plymouth, and there was still another Plymouth dealer in town. There was 2 Plymouth dealers. So they took on Dodge. They really wanted Dodge because they wanted the trucks. And then from 1960 through 1976, they had Dodge and Dodge trucks only. And then in 76, when myself and Paul bought them out, we kept Dodge, and then we took on Chrysler and Plymouth. Then in 1992, we was offered the Jeep franchise, so we took on Jeep also.
So 20th anniversary of having Jeep.
Yeah.
And that's been a good one for
Oh,
you.
it's been great, yeah.
I'm wondering.
Get better all the time, really.
You bet. You have a prime location here on East Fayette. I know that the location of the dealership has changed through the years too, though, right?
Yes.
Where'd you get started, or where did they start, and where have you located?
Well, like I said, they started in a little building back on Jefferson. It's still there, just a little shop. And then they built the building on 403 East Fayette, which is Bose Block Factory owns now, not their showroom. It was their showroom for a while. Now it's just a storage building.
Right.
And then we moved into the building that was up in front of this current building in 1976. We were there for, I think, from 76 to 92, I believe it was around 92, I think. Then we built this new building that we're in now.
So that kind of coincided with getting the Jeep franchise, and it was an
Right.
all-new
Right.
model and an all-new look, and
Right.
and 20 years has gone by since then, and it goes fast, doesn't it?
Now it sure does.
What do you think? Yeah.
Seems like yesterday. When I started, I was 26 years old. So at the time, I was the youngest Chrysler dealer in the nation for a few years, till we had a few more young ones started.
What do you think is the most significant change in automotives that you've seen?
Well, I think the biggest thing is the change from the old carbureted vehicles to the modern day, everything fuel injected, everything electronic, everything computerized. It just wasn't that way when I started, and obviously back before that it really wasn't that way. But I mean, we've come a long ways in the last, 25 years. But
Yeah. I know when I was a kid, bigger was better, and you wanted those big old
Right.
things that you like driving in your living room.
Right.
And then we got really fuel conscious, and now we're trying to do both.
Right. Yeah, and then they have been able, all the manufacturers somehow have been able to build nice sized vehicles that have some room in them and still have some power, and now they're getting 30 miles to gallon plus, even on the larger vehicles. So it's quite a change from probably 8 or 9 miles to gallon to what we get now.
Talk about alternative fuels. What do you see as the future of that? Because I know some people say, oh, it's great, and some people say, it isn't ever going to go because it's too pricey. What do you think?
That is a real hard question to answer. There's a lot of people that think that this natural gas thing will be a big deal. And it may be. We just have to see. I don't know. It's it's cleanest burning, and it's cheap. So and I don't think the vehicles. I think they got the technology to build those vehicles. It's just a matter that we have no filling stations, no infrastructure for that system. So that'll probably start with commercial vehicles. I think it's already started some, and we'll see how it works out. I don't know.
Now, one other thing I wanted to touch on, because you and I have worked together on projects through the years, Cluthy Pool is the one that really comes to mind. You all have been civic minded, and I know you appreciate the Effingham area and their support.
Yeah. Well, when you're a business place and you've been in the business all these years in Effingham, you feel like you have to give something back. And that was one of my major projects. That was a pretty big one, but we got it done and proud of it.
Absolutely. Well, Mark, thanks for the visit and congratulations on 75 years and hope 75 more.
Thank you.